Yeah. Well, I was having a blast last
yeah.
Thursday.
Yeah.
So I'll tell the tale of what went down. So you can see it. My arm's still wrapped up. It's more right here on this
Okay.
inside. So basically for my birthday's coming up, and I'm really bad at telling people what I want, because if I ask for something big, I feel very guilty about it. And so usually what I do is like, no, I don't want anything. And then 2 weeks after my birthday, something shows up that I bought for $600. And they're like, my wife's like, what the hell? Like, I would have bought you something. And so I was like, this time I was like, you know what? I want a hack squat leg press machine. It's like $1,600. I've wanted it for a long time. It's far and away at $1,600, the most expensive thing I've bought for my gym. Triple up any of the other machines, and it's still more. Like all my other machines are like 500 or less, like and sometimes way less. This thing $1,600, and like the rationale is that like it's very heavy built, it's very nice. Like everybody who reviews it says they love it. So I was super excited. The Titan one, yeah,
I've been looking at it too.
You call it a hack squat?
Yeah, so it's at a 45-degree angle. You can lay on the bottom part and press your legs up, or you can flip the top to where it's little pads, and then you can do a hack squat as well. So it's a 2-in-1.
The calf raises too, because you're on that platform. Mm-hmm. So now you don't need blocks or anything. You're just
you can do everything with it. It's super handy. And so I was really excited about it. And last week on Thursday, it wasn't supposed to ship until like later last week than the show. And my wife tells me, she's like, hey, I just got a notification. It's not only shipped already, it's arriving today. And I'm like, oh, like it's push
Christmas
day
on December 19th.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, man, it's push day, but I can finish push day, and then I can go down. I can put it together maybe before the show, and then fuck around with it and have some fun. And as just happenstance, I'm in here doing some work, and I go out to get a water. And as I'm walking past my front window, I look out and I see the big truck, like the guy's delivering it. I just happen to see it. And he's kind of at the base of my driveway. And I don't have a long driveway, but I've got a steep driveway. And he is clearly struggling. It's not in like a taped box. It's in like an ammo crate looking thing, like particle board with like the studs under it where you can slip in the
a crate,
the pallet jack. It's a crate, and it's got those metal kind of crimps on the corners to hold all the particle board together, all the plywood and everything, with the screws in it and everything. And so the guy's like, oh, hey, I was just going to drop it off here, but if you want, I can, we can push it up into your garage. And I was like, sure, this will be a lot easier. And I already noticed that he was struggling because he had put the prongs of the pallet jack incorrectly. They were under the braces. And so, as you know, with the pallet jack, you're meant to stick it between the braces. So when you lower it, the pallet jack hits the ground and you slide it out seamlessly and then can stick it back in. Well, he did it wrong. And so it's all kind of hanging off, and I'm pushing this thing as hard as I can, like a football linebacker sled. And we get it up into my garage, no problem. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And he's like, thanks a lot, man. I'm like, no problem. I appreciate it. And he's like, he lowers his pallet jack, and the whole thing goes, and I hear the grinding of the pallet jack under, like on my concrete. And he's like, fuck, it's not coming off the pallet jack. And I want to be like, yeah, you didn't do it right. Like there's only one way to fucking do this, and it goes between the slats.
Do you see the pallet jack spaces? Put it there.
Yeah, put it in fucking spaces, dude. And so he lowers it, and there's just the grinding of the pallet jack. And instead of like maneuvering, he's like just yanking on it, which is kind of pulling him closer to the driveway and the down area. And so I pull on the left side, and I grab it, and I heave it. I pull it as hard as I can, and it somewhat comes off on the left side of the pallet jack. It's the heaviest. Heavy. It's the heaviest box on earth. this container, and then,
for my next trick, the basement somehow
I'm gonna have to open it in pieces. And so then I go to the other side, and he's still standing up pulling on this thing, and I wrap my arm around to where my arm is like, here's the corner of the box, and I pull as hard as I can. The thing clunks off onto the ground, and he's like, oh, thank you. Like, and I feel like what I think is like a bee sting level of pain on my arm. And I do kind of a half-ass glance down, like expecting a scratch. And there is a hole in my arm very deep. Yeah, there's my arm. And I immediately go, like, I've never
Those St. Louis
seen-
hospitals do it differently than we do here.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was the job me and the UPS man did. And so basically I immediately go, like, my instinct, because I can see the entire, all the skin is perforated, the meat, I can see the fat and the muscle tissue, like I can see all the fucking meat, and the darkest red blood starts pouring down my arm, like it's soaked in 2 seconds, and my instinct was to like try and grab it and pinch it closed, and I was like, I need to go to the hospital. And the guy was like, well, I can't take you to the hospital. I'm like, no, I don't want you to take me to the hospital, just hold on, don't leave yet. And so I like I'm pinching my arm closed, walking back into my kitchen through my garage, blood is everywhere, and I'm like walking through my kitchen on the hardwood down towards my hallway because I wanted to get a towel from my hallway closet. But then I'm like, fuck, I'm going to ruin my carpet if I walk onto this. And so I find a clean dish towel and I'm looking for tape. And I hear the USPS guy in the garage. He goes, I got tape. I found it. I found tape. And I'm like, thanks. And so I am still futilely trying to pinch this wound closed. There's so much blood. I can't get a purchase on it. And there's no way to close it. It's so gross. I go out there and I slap the towel on, and I'm like, thank you so much for not leaving right away. Tape me up. You know, I don't want to bleed all over my car on the way to the urgent care or the hospital. And he tapes me up good. He's like, ooh, wait, hold on. Don't leave yet. Let me get another good round on there. My wife's a nurse. And I was like, I appreciate it, man. And so my arm is duct taped with a dish towel on it.
Hold on, let me fly this. My dad's a pilot.
Yeah, exactly. And as he's like getting back into his car to like try and continue his day of deliveries, I'm like peeling out like, thanks, and it's just like driving to the urgent care initially. And then I called my dad on the way there, and because he's not a doctor, but he's adjacent and works very closely with a lot of doctors, familiar with that industry and everything. And I was like, hey, don't freak out, but I just stabbed myself so bad, like it's the worst injury I've ever seen in person, is the way I put it to him. I've never in my life seen a cut more intense than this in person. And he was like, okay, so it's through the skin. And I'm like, oh, it blew so far past the skin. Like it was like the width of it, it's at about 10% of the total, like kind of width of a X-Acto knife.
Okay.
And make it much longer than the exposed point of an X-Acto. I'm trying to figure it out. It's a long.
You could put a crayon in it.
You could have stuck multiple crayons in it.
How many?
Okay.
You probably could have, at the time of it opening, you probably could have got 5, 6 crayons in.
I'd have gotten 7. I guarantee.
I bet you could have, but I was.
You know what? I'm patting myself on the back for my crayon unit.
I've played this game before. Not cut.
I called my dad and I was like, hey, I told him all that. And I'm like, should I just go to urgent care or what? And he's like, do not go to urgent care. It sounds like you got like real deal damage in your arm. Can you grip everything? Can you feel everything? And I'm like, yeah, I have full grip. Thankfully, my forearms are so jacked that there was a layer of muscle and fat under it. A smaller man would have died in the garage.
The arm would have fallen off.
The arm would have fallen off.
You know what?
I'm so powerful.
I might have hunted down a tampon for the ride to the hospital.
This guy taped it up so well that it didn't leak the whole way there. Now, when they eventually took it off, the entire towel was soaked with blood, like wet. But I listened to my dad. I go to the hospital, and it is, you know how triages work in hospitals. Like everyone who's older than you who shows up goes before you. It's not a line. It doesn't matter when you get there. And so like I'm just watching myself sink further back in line as the day goes on, which fucking blows. Because it's like, oh, you have a forearm laceration? It's like, yeah, but like you can't tell with the duct tape. It's legit. It's a legit one. Like I'm not overdoing it. Yeah.
Next time something like that happens, it sounds like you went to a big ass hospital, right?
Yeah. I just went to the closest. Actually, that wasn't even the closest. I was told to go there. That's
what makes sense. And I bet it was the best care you could have probably gotten. But if you'd driven like 2 hours into the country and went to some little podunk hospital, it would have been crickets when you went inside.
2 hours into the country?
Yeah. He waited longer.
I waited longer than that just to get in. And like when I did go back and get in. Go ahead.
While we're doing suggestions, the hospital you went to, if you cared about it, I know you're a man who has a forearm scar, but plastics would be available there. And you can just request it. And typically your insurance will cover it and be like, you know, if it was your face, even as a guy, like ask for plastics. If you don't, you won't get it. You'll get whoever's in the ER just will sew you back up and keep you alive. But that's not what you want. Like if you care about your fucking scar, ask for plastics. I've learned this in my life. I'm sorry. Carry on with your story.
I've heard that too. And I really wanted to, it's a forearm thing. So I just wanted it done quickly. Like just get it done. If it scars a bit, really not a big deal. Right. So at long last, I get brought in the back, and they start to take scissors to remove. They do the thing like, are you gonna want to keep the towel? I'm like, is there another doctor
that
here?
That is grandmama's towel.
My gift to you.
You can have that.
We can consider it payment for the stitches if you want. I'm a barterer.
Like, just cut it off. So they get those big jaws of life scissors, and they go through the 15 layers of duct tape and the towel. And I don't know what it's gonna look like under the wound, because like last time I saw it, it was over an inch deep, like just a hole with an enormous amount of blood pouring out. And what happens apparently is like your arm repressurizes and like starts to push like the meat almost like to the surface and almost out. Have you ever seen like a twice baked potato?
Or a woman with an outie vagina?
Yes. Yeah, even better. So they remove it. And like, I'm grossed out by it, so I don't want to look, but I have to know what it looks like. And it's like the meat of my arm is like cresting above the surface of the skin. Souffle. Yeah. Oh, wow. And it was a resident doctor. So like, I guess like the level below the real doctor who started, numbing me and stitching me up. And she looks at this and I don't know anything about stitches. I've never had stitches, but she looks at the wound, and the only bone I've broken is my nose a couple times.
Kyle, have you never had stitches too?
I've had so many stitches.
Oh yeah, I'm in the hundreds. I'm sorry.
Okay. You've had so many stitches. I've had 20 stitches.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I was like, I'm curious, is this going to hurt? Is it going to be like totally numb? Well, it turns out they numb the shit out of you. They could like chop your arm off and you wouldn't feel it. But she looks at the amount of damage in my arm and is like, okay, not too bad. I think this is going to be about 3 stitches. And what? in my mind, I was like, I don't know, but those must be beefy stitches or something. Like, I don't. And she sewed me up. And again, I don't know about stitches, but have you seen zombie movies where like the wound is open for all intents and purposes, and it's pinched together kind of in 3 areas across?
Yes.
That is what my arm fucking looked like. And she starts wrapping it up with the gauze and everything. And I don't really know the difference. I'm like, well, that's horrifying. Like, it's still oozing out. There's still like blood and viscera and stuff coming out of my arm when they push on it. And she was like, all right. She wrapped it up. And then the real doctor came in and was like, let's take a look.
Right? That's the name of
it. Yeah. The attending physician. He came in and was like, all right. So I see that Susie Q got you stitched up. Let me take a look. And he unwraps it and he goes, oh, oh, okay. Well, we're going to add some more stitches here. And he was like, do you want me to renumb the area? Like, do you feel this? And like, I had to make a decision. I didn't know. I was like, I kind of feel you poking, but not like really. And he's like, well, do you want me we can renumb it, but that'll take, I'm like, just go very quickly. Like, and so I told him to go fast. And so then he starts sewing and he adds 4 more stitches in between all the gaps. Meanwhile, I'm seeing the beginning of like a terrible scar because of how badly this is going, has been put together on my arm. And even with the 7 stitches, there was still a triangle of red slice.
8 would have hit the spot.
No, I showed it to someone who is in the medical field. I showed them the wound a few days like after the fact. So it's already starting fusing back together. And they were like, oh my God, that you needed 10 stitches. Like for sure 10 stitches here. This is terrible. Like they did a terrible job of this. And I was like, it seemed like it, but yeah, I can't.
I'm not.
It happened last Thursday. I think I've got 10 days. All right, I can take off the sutures between 1 and 2 weeks, and they said to take like 10 days off of lifting. But I'm gonna play it by ear.
Just based on all the injuries I've had, it sounds like they should have done like a good 6 internal stitches to get that together, and then a good 10 maybe external stitches, and then the whole thing would be sewed up. The
Yeah.
internal ones are, I'm going to say biodegradable, but like, you know what they mean. They dissolve, your body will take them apart. And the external ones often have to be removed.
Which feels great. You do that yourself, by the way.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, you're gonna.
Oh, really?
It feels great.
They sent me home with a suture removal kit.
Yeah.
This has to be like, they don't always do that. And they didn't used to do that. I think like some of my stitches were in the days when like mom stayed overnight after delivery and like there were professionals there to like care for the baby and stuff. Now, 45 minutes after that baby pops out, they send your bitch ass home and tell you to start momming. You just limp around breastfeeding or something. That's current medical care. So the remove your own stitches thing is just par for the course. Okay.
They asked. They were like, you can come back in and do this, or you can take this little kit for free and give it a go.
I remove my own cast too.
Just give me the kit. Yeah.
It used to be nurses took care of your kid till tomorrow. Like that was like a thing that nurses did.
No more.
No more.
Longer.
Now you know, don't be a bitch.
Yeah. So that's why I missed the show. Everyone is listening. I stabbed myself with a piece of metal.
Well,
badly.
Right after the next day, you know, something equally bad befell me. Obviously, you know, when I dropped the blade to my food processor onto my foot there. You know,
dude, that happened as I was sending pictures of having stabbed myself.
They were like the pictures crossed in midair.
How did you drop the food processor on the bottom of your foot? Like that is confusing.
So you know how like when you step, your foot is moving forward and toes are pointed up. When you swing your foot forward,
okay, sure.
Yeah, that's when it hit my foot. I was mid gait or mid step or whatever, and it was falling, and it the toe was pointed straight up, and if this is like the tip of my toe, it goes from like almost the nail all the way across the tip and the bottom of it. And I immediately like dropped the pan I had in my hand and like wrapped it up. And I was like, we're not going to the emergency room. I refuse to go to the emergency room. And I like undid it, and there was a pool of blood like as big as like a dinner plate. And I was like, I refuse to go.
Stuck with it.
I literally got on the couch and like elevated it and like kept it squeezed really tight. And eventually it stopped enough that I could get some super glue in there. Pinched that.
I was wondering what you went with.
Yeah, I alcohol swabs and like got it clean enough, and then a fat thing of super glue, and I wore latex gloves and I just held it shut for a while with the fan blowing on it, and pretty much good as new.
How's walking on it now?
Sore.
So you're tender with it,
yeah. But you know, I take those Epsom salt baths though, and I don't know if there's any actual like flesh exposed. I made like a cake of super glue over the wound, so hopefully that works. It works itself out.
Yeah, super glue, quite the lifesaver.
I know it was invented for that purpose. Everyone throws that out there when they hear the words. Did you know? Yeah, we all know by now. Everyone knows super glue was made to hold skin together.
Someone's listening right now. I didn't know.
Did you know Steve Buscemi volunteered for 9/11? It's like, shut the fuck up. We all know that.
But yeah, well, I'm glad both of you are okay.
Yeah, it was a harrowing weekend for us both. Equally.
Well, I think I'm doing acro next weekend. So
I thought. I mean, sepsis sets in. I'm not here.
There it is.
Yeah, I didn't go get any medical care like some people. I don't know.
Like me as a pussy. Going to, you got cut by metal? You want a tetanus shot? No, I did. I got a tetanus shot because they were asking me to like, have you had one in the last 10 years? And I'm like, I couldn't tell you, gun to my head. Let's assume no. I have no idea. And then like on the way home, I remembered I got one in 2017 when I almost cut the tip of my thumb off.
Oh.
And so 10 years is how long it lasts, I think.
I agree. They should
think 10.
Be better at that. Like, I know there is some sort of cyber system out there that tells you all the things you've taken. Like, I got a physical recently, and they're like, "Are you still taking this, this, and this?" And I'm like, "No." What was that for? Like a post surgery? Like, no, I'm not on opiates.
Are you? Yeah, I'm on daily opium.
I'm on daily opium. Life has been a struggle.
That's like asking your wife, "Do you still take these epidurals?"
Yeah, it was like on par
That's
with
strong stuff, you know.
That's not
but I'm like, it came from
How
somewhere.
are you walking?
And I've never been to this like minute clinic before. So
yeah, when I like gave them my information, they're like, at 123 Simon's Court. I'm like, I moved from there when I was 11. Like that was 2001. We had a flag out to remember the towers when we when we moved from that.
Yeah.
Like, how on earth is that where you think I live? But yeah, overall, like I was asking the doctor and everything, like, how long do I have to take off lifting? And the guy was like, I mean, I guess you could go lift now if you wanted. And I was like, I am not going to take your advice on anything because that doesn't make any. It's like, you're telling me I stabbed my arm 4.5 hours ago and I can go deadlift now, like right now.
Well, you
like,
have threes.
You should have said, just to be clear, like when I say lift, I mean 400 pounds several times tonight. Like, you know that, right? Oh,
I mean,
well, don't do that for like a month and a half then.
Oh yeah, I can tell. It's like I can push on stuff and I don't feel anything. If I like pull on anything, like I tried to close a window with my right hand the other day just by force of habit. That feels weird, but I'm just thankful I don't have any numbness or anything. Which once again, thanks to the years of farmer's carries at the end of workouts.
That literally,
that's what
I
attribute it to.
My foot feels so weird when you rub the scar when I drop that stupid butcher's knife on it because like the nerve is like fucked up in there. So if you wiggle it, it's like shorting out a wire. It feels fucky.
You're like you were talking about how it took a while to get medical care, and I recognize now how bad the cut was. Like it was legit, and they may not have given you the care. Like they may have prioritized you a little more if they knew what they were looking at.
Yeah,
maybe not Susie Q. She doesn't know what the fuck she's looking at. But, it reminded me when I came in with Colin. He was like vomit on his chest, white as a ghost, axe wound to the foot, and they're like, front of the line, here's a bed for you, sir.
Yeah,
you don't always want to be front of the line.
This is like it's kind of sad, but like as I was leaving the hospital, like in a pissy mood of like, this is bullshit. I can't even move the equipment for my shit out of my garage for almost 2 weeks because the pieces are too heavy. God, what a bad luck day. Missed the show, feel like shit, mad. And as I'm walking out, like the doors to leave with my wife and I, there's this guy laying on his side on a gurney, like a middle-aged guy, just like, and I like immediately was a surge of like, life's not all bad.
Yeah, you like whistle all the way to the car.
I am truly blessed. Like I don't know what happened to that guy, but he's in his work clothes, just.
Either subscribe, donate,
Can't take this shit no more, man.
or get the fuck out.